share some information about a popular topic that I often hear requested from parents, caregivers, and teachers, and that is on how to support behavior. Now, before we jump into some information and interventions that you can use, first you want to think about who says that it's a problem behavior anyway. If the child or teen had a voice to articulate for themselves, would they be saying, yes, I want this behavior to stop? It feels uncomfortable to me, it feels unsafe, and I need help to stop it or to replace it. If you don't think that the child or teen would necessarily, want this behavior to stop and it's developmentally appropriate, just like other children and teens are testing limits and figuring out their regulation, it doesn't mean you have to squash that behavior. I was going to say terminate it. We have this universal mindset that all behavior is challenging and all behavior has to stop. So something to think about, right? Who's saying that it's a problem behavior, first of all? Okay, and then second of all, as a parent, caregiver, or teacher, you want to make sure before you jump in that you're ready to support, that you are ready to mindfully do your best as well. Just like that old adage, in the airplane. Once you have your own oxygen, you can help someone else. It's so true. If you know that you're triggered by something your child or teen does, whether it's verbal or something, a behavior, a physical behavior they do, you want to recognize that trigger before you overreact or react in a way that you later would regret. And you might rupture the relationship, right? Which would need a repair later on. So you really want to take a moment to make sure, am I triggered right now? Have I taken a deep breath before I enter this space with my child or teen? And do you have the time and space to address it properly? Because of course, if you don't, you want to pick your battles. And you don't have to pick every single battle every single time, especially if you can't follow through in that moment the way you would want to, unless, of course, it relates to safety. So I hope that kind of just sets up a mindset of where the parent, caregiver, or teacher should be before entering that space with the child or teen. Okay, so now that you are choosing to help your child or teen with the behavior, there are reasons to why behavior occurs, right? There are purposes, or what behavior analysts call a function to the behavior. And an easy way to remember or think about it is a fun acronym called SEAT, S-E-A-T. So there's 4 functions of behavior. Now I'll go through each one and we can explore how to then give a consequence that will help your child in that moment with that specific behavior. The first one is sensory. The first S in SEAT is for sensory. So is your child dysregulated, right? Is there something going on in their sensory profile that they need more of or less of in that moment? And just remembering that we all have different sensory profiles and we all have different sensory needs that change day to day, moment to moment. So you need to come in and model, give choices, give samples of what could make your child or teen feel better. Is it the type of moment that they need to move and groove, right? Do they need to jump around, fidget, go for a run, go for a walk? Do they need a break for a little while with some space and some sunshine? Do they need a snack, a drink, a hard chew, something to eat like apple, something crunchy? Do they need a deep hug? Do they need something soothing next to them, like some music, some of their favorite candies, maybe you by their side? What's happening that their sensory system is feeling dysregulated, and what can you do to help support them? You can help co-regulate your child or teen, and over time, with all of this wonderful sampling, your child or teen gets to know themselves and can make choices for themselves when you're not there, right? That's kind of the goal, that then they can find things that they know makes them feel better. And again, it's going to be different. It shouldn't always be the same like go-to thing every time. Like, oh, you're dysregulated, here, have a sensory toy, a little fidget. Because that's not the way, we are designed uniquely as humans. We're complex. And some days we want a tea, some days we want a latte, right? Some days a hot shower feels good, sometimes a cold shower feels good. So we're all different, and we need to address that co-regulation in the here and now, in the moment, teaching our child or teen what feels good to them. Okay, the next part is E for escape. That's our second function of SEAT. Escape is a common function, right, that a lot of children or teens are communicating through their behavior, that they want to escape a task, avoid it, or delay it. And so it's important for parents and caregivers and teachers to see this and understand it. Oh, what they're doing right now is an escape behavior. They're communicating escape, because what you don't want to do is inadvertently reinforce that if they escalate with homework, for example, then they get to delay homework till midnight, or they don't have to do it at all, or, that they rise up to that level of behavior, a high level of escalation, and then you send them to timeout. So guess what? They're getting just what they wanted and escaping that situation. So guess what they'll do the next time that same similar situation occurs that they perceive as aversive, their behavior is going to rise, right? Their challenging behavior. So instead, you want to make sure your expectation is just right, again, in the moment, in the here and now for your child or teen. And we can relate, right? One day we're tired and we, maybe are not quite ready to give our 100% best to, let's say, studying. And another day we're feeling great, we have energy, we're ready to dive in and do some deep studying for a task or for work. Same thing with our kids and teens. So we want to help them, nurture them, give them choices, break down tasks, chunk information, let them pick what order they want to do some tasks perhaps. But the important thing is that you follow through. You don't inadvertently reinforce like a long delay, like a delay for bath time, or you don't inadvertently reinforce, again, avoiding the whole task with a challenging behavior. So you want to help your child and teen to, again, have choices and communicate a break or what they want in a positive, pro-social way, and not give in to that delay or add to it. One tip I've learned over the years as a parent is don't say something until you're ready to follow through. Keep your words precious, because otherwise you're just reinforcing delay, right? Because kids will start to tune you out, like, oh, mom, dad, they're not ready to even follow through on this. So I'm just going to delay until I really see that they're ready to follow through. Just a little tip for that. Okay, the next one is A for attention. Number 3 in SEAT, S-E-A-T. So attention-seeking behaviors, right? Always remembering that kids and teens, all of us, but here we're talking about kids and teens, can communicate a behavior because they are seeking positive or negative attention. It can be both. And sometimes parents, don't understand that actually negative attention can be just as reinforcing to that child or teen. So arguing, for example, or getting a debate in or a rise might really keep that behavior going. So what we want to do is, if it is attention-seeking behavior, again, we don't want to inadvertently reinforce that high level of a problem behavior to access attention, to contact attention. So we want to give attention when the child or teen is calm and regulated, and then shower them with attention and nurturance and connection. So planned ignoring works very well here, but making sure you're filling their bucket and their needs are met throughout the day, or that they know how to access attention when needed, like ask for special time with you, ask for playtime with their friends and socializing time, so that they're not seeking it out in bursts, when it's not the right moment of the day to do that, right? You're filling them up ahead of time proactively. Okay, and then the last part of SEAT, number 4, is T for tangible. So a tangible, what's a tangible? Basically an object, right? Or activity, can be a person. So basically access to tangible is really what it means. So that the access is what the child is after in that moment. So here, again, if a child, an easy example, right, that makes sense, is that if a child is tantruming for a cookie, you don't want to say, okay, here's that cookie, because we know that what's going to happen the next time the child wants the cookie, right? They're going to have that same similar kind of behavior, maybe even a higher level on their escalation cycle, because they've come into contact with that reinforcement and they know that they can get that tangible, that cookie, in that way. So if the behavior you're seeing your child communicate is tangible related, you, again, don't want to give in with the tangible. Instead, there's some different things you can do. One of my favorite approaches is from Dr. Gary Landreth from the University of North Texas. And he's also the co-founder of child-parent relationship therapy. I love his ACT limit setting for this kind of situation. So you can ACT, another fun acronym. Our field is loaded with acronyms. A is acknowledge the feeling. C, communicate the limit, because there is a limit or a boundary. And then T, target an alternative, which you'll see will relate directly to the T, tangible, in SEAT. So here's an example. Let's say that your child, again, comes in, you're cooking dinner, it's 5 minutes before dinner, and they're saying they're hungry, they want a cookie. So you're going to A, acknowledge the feeling. Oh, I see that you're hungry and you're telling me you'd really like a cookie right now. But C, communicate the limit. Cookies are for after dinner. And then T, target the alternative. Here you can have some carrots or cucumbers I just cut up. Or you can come help me get drinks for everybody for the table. And let's get this dinner going, right? So T is the alternative, target the alternative. Instead of the cookie, they can have a healthy snack. That's a choice, or you redirect them to another task, which is they can help you set the table. So by doing ACT often throughout their life, what's really magical about this wonderful limit setting strategy is by the time they get older, you're really teaching them to problem solve for themselves. So again, our goal as parents and caregivers and teachers are to instill these wonderful strategies in our kids and teens so that when we're not around, they can problem solve and help themselves when they're out working, out with their friends, right? So they can problem solve, and it's amazing. After you do it so much, they're going to start to say, okay, what's my alternative here, right? I know I can't, draw on the walls, but okay, I'll draw on paper, kind of thing. They're going to you're going to see them start to problem solve, and that's what we want. Always, right? We're trying to teach through what we're supporting in our kids. So ACT is, again, a wonderful limit setting strategy from Dr. Gary Landreth that you can always use, and just make sure that you're genuinely listening, you're validating their feelings, and it's a wonderful way to also be a container for that heavy feeling that your child or teen is having, that distress, because that distress is real, right? And so we're not trying to not validate that. And sometimes we need to be that container for them to, again, validate it and hold it for your child or teen, but then quickly move on to some other alternatives. Okay, so that is your seat for 4 functions of behavior. Oh, and just remember too, of course, because we are complex and amazing, unique humans, it can be more than one function at one time. So it's pretty rare when it's only just one pure function. There are times that it is, but sometimes it can be multiple functions that reinforce the behavior to maintain it, or functions can even jump and change on you over time. So don't always think because it's a homework situation, it's escape. It could be it's first started as escape and later it turns into attention because now dad is sitting next to me, spending time with me, helping me with my homework, right? Which again is not a necessarily bad thing, but can become like a pattern inadvertently reinforced when then your child or teen is not independent anymore, right? With doing things on their own because they're just loving that attention. And of course it feels good. So function can be a tricky thing, but remember, we want to just help to figure out what's the purpose, what's the communication. We're not going to inadvertently reinforce something that reinforces that behavior with that function. We're going to reinforce functionally equivalent replacement behaviors that can access that same function that they were trying to access, but in a healthier, positive way. Okay, so then just a few last tips. Then I still get sometimes, challenge, right, from parents and teachers will say, well, what else can I do in the moment to help my child to get through a situation? I've done ACT, I understand SEAT. What else can I do? A few last tips and strategies is if you're asking your child or teen to do something like to, walk instead of run through a parking lot, or to clean their room or fold clothes a certain way. If it's a skill kind of practice or learning situation, you can always do what behavior analysts call an overcorrection, which is another playful way to say it though, is a redo. Like, oh, we need a redo here. So you redo the situation and walk your child or teen through the steps in a neutral, calm way, not in a judgmental, critical way, right? Because then they're never going to want to do that task again, but just in a calm, neutral, modeling kind of way. And you're going to help them overcorrect and redo that skill, okay? Another last 2 strategies that I just love actually goes with the number 2. And this one I learned recently from Paris Goodyear Brown, who is the founder of Trauma Play. And she just has a really nice, succinct 2-choice rule that you can always give to your child or teen, right? So the first one is, you can choose to do it or I can help you do it. That's pretty common. I know a lot of parents will do that already, so good for you. But it's just something to remember. You always have that tool in your pocket, You can put on your seatbelt yourself or I can do it for you. That usually helps with support kind of situations, trust or safety situations. The 2-choice rule is very helpful. The other way kind of reflects on the act of targeting alternatives, teaching your kids and teens about what alternatives are safe in this situation, right? So, you can choose to do this or you'll get a natural consequence for not doing it. So that's another way to do it as well with your 2-choice rule. So you can choose to go walk your dog that you asked for, that you're responsible for, that needs you, or you can have the consequence of, then you can help me like do some gardening instead, or like lose $1 from your allowance jar, something like that. So again, the 2-choice rule and what is your child or teen going to pick? So either way, you're helping them make a choice, make a decision, which again, as parents and teachers, we're helping them every day to wake up, have a new restart, a new refresh, make choices that better their situation and quality of life every day for themselves now, in the here and now, and in the future when they become adults. So I hope that these tips and strategies help you to feel a little more confident and aware of what they're trying to communicate in the moment. The most important things, again, are to always stay with open communication, reflect on what they're doing, assess it, assess yourself first, assess, if that behavior should be challenged or changed or offered a positive replacement, and always be there for your child and teen. Have your presence there. Don't abandon them. We never want to abandon them. We want to always connect with them before we redirect. And we always want to repair if there was a rupture. So we're modeling ruptures happen, but then we make a repair together. Okay, so I hope this helps. And, I know it's not easy. Take a breath. We can do it one step at a time. Thank you.